Have you ever wondered why some older people gradually stop visiting friends and family? Let me share my story at 70 and the reasons I've become more attached to my beloved sofa. In my younger days, I loved visiting friends, family, and neighbors. These connections brought joy and a sense of belonging. But now outings don't feel the same. It's not that I don't cherish my relationships, I do. But the excitement of visiting others has faded, replaced by a deeper appreciation for peace and comfort at home. Planning get-togethers once thrilled me, but now, each outing leaves me reflecting on how I want to spend my twilight years. Some visits brought endless laughter, others left me drained or awkward, and many were simply exhausting. Over time, I've realized that choosing to stay home is sometimes the best decision for my well-being. Today I'll share 6 stories, lessons that shifted my perspective on visiting others. These moments taught me that saying, "No, thank you, I'll stay home," is perfectly okay and even empowering. So grab a warm cup of tea and join me as I share these reflections. You might discover that prioritizing your peace isn't just a choice, it's a gift to yourself. Reason 1. Home is a sanctuary. A place that nurtures inner peace. It was a Saturday afternoon. The sky was a clear blue, and golden sunlight danced through the windows. I had planned to visit a close friend all week, but a strange urge stopped me as I was about to put on my shoes. The steaming cup of tea on the table, my familiar armchair calling out to me, and the gentle sunlight filtering through the curtains made me pause. At that moment, I realized that home isn't just a physical space. It's a place where the soul is nurtured and healed. Home is where you don't have to put on a facade or meet anyone's expectations. It's a place where you can slow down, see the world through a serene lens, and listen to the gentle whispers of your heart. As I sat down with my cup of tea, I began to notice the small details around me. The cheerful chirping of birds outside the window, the soft rustling of wind through the trees, and the cool touch of the tiled floor beneath my bare feet all came together to create a peaceful symphony, one I couldn't find anywhere else. I thought about the times I'd gone out before, rushing to get ready, dealing with heavy traffic, and returning home feeling drained after long meetings. It dawned on me that sometimes choosing to stay home isn't an act of avoidance, but rather a way to respect myself. Home's serenity is like a gentle hug, helping me recharge and heal from within. There's an old saying, "Home is where the heart is." That sentiment rings truer than ever. In Eastern cultures, home is not just a place to live, but a symbol of balance and harmony. It's where we step away from the outside world's noise to reconnect with ourselves. In the West, home is often called a little paradise, the safest place to truly be themselves. Whether you live in a large house with a spacious garden or a cozy apartment with a sunlit balcony, your connection to that space truly matters. A home doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to feel safe, comfortable, and familiar. When I chose to stay home instead of going out, I discovered more benefits than I'd ever imagined. Time spent at home allows me to slow down, relax, and organize my thoughts. I can indulge in small yet meaningful hobbies, reading a book, journaling, or simply sitting quietly and focusing on each breath. Moreover, staying home helps me avoid unnecessary stress. Without dealing with noise, social pressures, or uncontrollable situations, I can focus on nurturing positive emotions and recharging my energy. From that moment, I learned to appreciate my home more than ever. It's not just a shelter. It's an integral part of my journey to find balance and happiness. No matter your age, creating a space for rest and renewal is a priceless gift you can give yourself. If you, too, feel burdened by social expectations or endless visits, give yourself permission to say no and stay home. Make yourself a cup of tea. Open the windows to welcome the sunlight and bask in the peace. Home, after all, isn't just a place to live. It's a place to love, heal, and rediscover yourself. You deserve a corner of the world where you don't have to do anything but simply be yourself. So start embracing the power of tranquility in your sanctuary today. Reason 2. Losing interest in gossip. Choosing peace over negativity. In the past, like many others, I used to find joy in casual gossip during meetups with friends. Hours of chatting, hearty laughter, and the thrill of staying updated on who was doing what made me feel connected and part of something bigger. But one small moment changed my perspective forever. It was a beautiful autumn afternoon when I visited an old friend after many years. We started with cheerful conversations about life, family, and nostalgic memories. However, at some point, the tone of the conversation shifted. It centered on others, their mistakes, flaws, and harsh judgments. At first, I stayed neutral, thinking it was just harmless chit-chat. But the longer I listened, the heavier I felt. My mood began to sink. The stories I heard weren't uplifting, but seemed to drain my energy. When I got home, I didn't feel the usual excitement that follow meetups. Instead, I felt tired, and even a little guilty for having sat through something so devoid of meaning. After that experience, I began questioning myself. Why am I letting my precious time be spent on such conversations? Do I need to engage in discussions that weigh down my spirit? That's when I decided to prioritize more meaningful conversations that bring lightness to my soul and help me grow. Meaningful conversations don't have to be profound or philosophical. Sometimes, sitting together, sharing simple joys, talking about a good book, or just listening and empathizing is enough to fill your heart and mind. Research has shown deep and positive conversations can reduce stress, improve mental health, and extend life expectancy. Psychologist Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, once said, "True happiness comes from connecting deeply with others, not from superficial relationships." Now, I value moments of peace and meaningful connection more than ever. I have learned to decline gatherings when they don't bring positive value. This doesn't mean I'm isolating myself. It simply means I'm being selective to protect my energy and peace of mind. Instead of getting caught up in negative chatter, I spend more time with those who truly matter. People willing to share, listen, and connect without judgment or criticism. These conversations make me feel more connected and bring a sense of tranquility and genuine happiness. This story isn't just a reminder for myself. It might resonate with you if you've ever felt drained by negative gossip. Permit yourself to choose better. Choose to spend time with those who help you become the best version of yourself. Because in the end, time is our most precious asset. Don't waste it on things that don't matter. Instead, use it to build meaningful connections so that every conversation becomes a step closer to happiness. Reason 3. Generational differences in communication. Learning to embrace and appreciate simplicity. Have you ever encountered a conversation where everything sounded like a completely foreign language? I've experienced it, and the most memorable instance was a visit with my granddaughter. She was excited to tell me about TikTok, dance challenges, viral videos, and the latest technologies. But as she spoke with enthusiasm, I sat there feeling utterly lost, as though I'd wandered into a world where I didn't belong. My granddaughter's passion was evident. Her eyes lit up as she discussed the latest trends she was following. But it was like listening to a book written in a language I'd never learned. I nodded politely, trying to keep up. But the truth was, I didn't feel connected to the story she was telling. In that moment, I realized that generational gaps aren't just about age, but also about how we communicate and find joy. What excites younger generations doesn't always bring the same satisfaction to those of us from older generations. And that's perfectly okay. When I was younger, I was engrossed in conversations about the latest trends of my time. But now, I no longer need to chase every fad to feel connected. I've come to appreciate the simpler joys. An afternoon spent reading under the sunlight, a warm cup of tea by the window, or a heartfelt conversation centered on meaningful values. I've learned that communication doesn't always require a complete understanding of each other's worlds. Sometimes, just listening and respecting differences is enough to build a meaningful relationship. Rather than trying to keep up with the fast pace of younger generations, I've chosen to maintain a comfortable rhythm of life. Forcing myself into conversations that don't resonate only leaves me feeling exhausted. Instead, I savor the simple and peaceful moments that my generation tends to hold dear. Generational differences are not barriers, but opportunities for us to learn acceptance and balance. When my granddaughter shares her passions, I've learned to listen without needing to fully understand, because I know that her joy is part of our connection. Philosopher Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This philosophy is especially true in intergenerational communication. Listening is not just a way to show respect, but also to learn from different perspectives. Meaningful communication doesn't always stem from complete alignment. Sometimes, it's about being willing to listen and accept that each generation has its way of viewing and experiencing life. If you've ever felt like you couldn't keep up with conversations involving the younger generation, remember that you don't have to. Instead, seek out conversations that revolve around the values you hold dear. Don't feel pressured to change yourself just to fit in. Spend time on the things that bring you true peace and joy. My story with my granddaughter isn't just about generational differences. It's a lesson in respecting and appreciating diversity in how each person experiences life. Because in the end, communication isn't about understanding everything. It's about finding joy in listening and sharing. Reason 4. The story of the stairs. When simplicity becomes the wise choice. I remember vividly the first time I visited my old friend Janet after she moved into her new house. It wasn't just any house, a masterpiece of architecture, a 3-story marvel straight out of an interior design magazine. From the outside, I was captivated by its grandeur. Large glass windows, flower-filled balconies, and an airy space resembling a painting. I stepped inside, excited for what I thought would be an enjoyable visit. Little did I know that the day's true main character would be the stairs. With the enthusiasm of someone showing off a new home, Janet immediately offered to give me a tour. Not wanting to disappoint her, I agreed, thinking it would be a light stroll. But the moment I started climbing to the first floor, I realized I had underestimated the challenge. The stairs seemed to stretch endlessly, and each step felt like a negotiation between my mind and body. How many more floors do I have to climb? I wondered. Janet excitedly pointed out every detail: the luxurious living room, the cozy bedrooms, and especially the attic with its stunning city view. But by the time I reached the second floor, I could feel every breath. And when we finally got to the third floor, I nearly collapsed into a chair, gasping as though I'd just finished a marathon. The attic's view was spectacular, but at that moment, all I wanted was to return to the ground, where there were no stairs. After the tour, I sat down with Janet, holding a cup of tea, feeling like I'd survived an unexpected challenge. I laughed and said to her, "Janet, your house is beautiful, but let's meet on the ground floor next time." We both laughed, but I vowed never to voluntarily step into a 3-story house again. This experience taught me an amusing yet profound lesson. As we age, our bodies start having opinions about what we can and can't do. Stairs, once insignificant, now feel like miniature Everests, and I've come to accept that. This change isn't a failure. It's a gentle reminder to adjust our lives to suit us better. When I was younger, I saw climbing stairs as an opportunity for exercise, even an exciting challenge. But now, I've learned that not every challenge needs to be conquered. Sometimes, the smartest choice is to step back and choose an easier path. Simplifying life goes beyond avoiding tall flights of stairs. It's about listening to our bodies and respecting our limits. Instead of pushing myself to do everything as I once did, I now focus on what brings me joy and comfort. This shift has been better for my physical health and brought me mental clarity and peace. Philosopher Seneca once said, "A happy life is not about having more, but appreciating what we already have." That means savoring peaceful moments in my own space, rather than chasing unnecessary challenges. Janet and I keep in touch regularly, but now we meet at a nearby cafe or a park, places blessedly free of stairs. Our conversations are easier, and our time together feels more relaxed than ever. If you've ever felt weary of life's stairs, literal or metaphorical, remember there's nothing wrong with choosing a simpler path. Knowing when to stop or say no isn't a sign of weakness. It's a mark of wisdom and maturity. Reason 5. The case of the not tea. Tea, when the taste of surprise is far from pleasant. One quiet afternoon, with sunlight streaming gently through the windows, I received an invitation from Betty, my cheerful, energetic neighbor. Betty, ever the hospitable host, often enjoyed organizing light-hearted afternoon gatherings where we'd sip tea and share life's little stories. I thought nothing could be better than sitting back, savoring a warm cup of tea, and soaking in tranquility amidst life's worries. But this time, what I thought would be a simple meeting turned into an unforgettable memory, in a way I hadn't anticipated. Betty, always thoughtful but with her own unique flair, greeted me at the door with a radiant smile. "I've prepared a special tea for you today," she said enthusiastically. I settled into her cozy armchair, expecting the familiar aroma of Earl Grey or chamomile. But when the cup was placed in front of me, the first surprise appeared. The liquid wasn't the usual golden or amber hue. It was a deep, unusual red. I took a tentative sip, and immediately, a peculiar sweetness overwhelmed my taste buds. It wasn't the light, refined flavor of tea that I was anticipating. Instead, it was cloyingly sweet, hinting at something reminiscent of cough syrup. Trying to maintain my composure, I asked politely, "Betty, is this tea? It tastes a bit different." Betty laughed and replied, "Oh, it's not tea. It's homemade plum juice. I thought you'd enjoy it." At that moment, I forced a smile and took another sip. But the more I drank, the more it felt like a battle with each swallow. While I appreciated Betty's kind intentions, I couldn't help but feel a deep longing for home, especially for the perfectly brewed cup of Earl Grey that I could have made myself. When I returned home that evening, I brewed myself a cup of tea, inhaling the soothing aroma from the cup. I realized something important from that simple act. Comfort and joy often come from the most familiar things. I didn't need to venture out into unfamiliar flavors that didn't genuinely appeal to me. At this stage of life, I deserve to enjoy what makes me happy and provides complete relaxation. Betty's reminded me of the differences in taste and lifestyle preferences that we all have. Betty finds joy in creating homemade, innovative drinks, constantly seeking novelty. For me, however, the old habit of brewing an afternoon tea is how I find peace and reconnect with myself. After this incident, I began to understand that saying no to experiences that don't align with me isn't selfish. It's a way to protect my balance and comfort in life. I've started to be more deliberate in choosing how to spend my time, prioritizing moments that bring genuine happiness rather than trying to please others at the expense of my contentment. Of course, I've maintained a wonderful relationship with Betty. But now, instead of visiting her for tea, we often meet for walks in the park or chat by the lake, activities we both enjoy. If you've ever found yourself in a situation like mine, staring at a surprising drink and wondering why you're there, remember that it's perfectly okay to choose what makes you more comfortable. The world is full of flavors, but not all are suited to our tastes. And that's completely fine. Reason 6. Visits that turn into unplanned weekend getaways. One peaceful afternoon, I received an invitation from Marie, a dear friend I've always cherished, to stop by her house for coffee and a chat. I accepted without hesitation, thinking it would be a pleasant, hour-long break from the monotony of daily life. Little did I know that what started as a casual visit would turn into an event far longer than anticipated. With her naturally warm and hospitable nature, Marie had prepared everything with great care. She laid out fragrant pastries, brewed a rich pot of coffee, and invited me to settle into her plush armchair in the living room. We began our conversation reminiscing about old memories, gradually diving into an endless array of topics: work, family, and favorite films. Time flew by, and the sun had already set before I realized it. Startled, I glanced at the clock and said, "Marie, I need to head home." But with her kind and persuasive smile, she insisted, "Stay the night. It's late, and driving home wouldn't be safe." Not wanting to offend her, I agreed to stay. Marie quickly prepared a guest room, laid out lavender-scented sheets, and wished me a good night. Despite the room's comfort, I couldn't shake the sense of unease. This wasn't part of my plan. That night, as I lay awake, I thought about unfinished tasks waiting at home and wondered why I hadn't been more assertive. The next morning, I thought I could leave early, but Marie, still brimming with enthusiasm, had prepared a grand breakfast of toast, homemade strawberry jam, and freshly brewed coffee. Our conversation resumed, and morning soon gave way to midday. When I finally left her house, I felt like I'd just experienced an unplanned weekend getaway. While I deeply appreciated Marie's hospitality, this experience taught me an important lesson about setting boundaries. I realized that no matter how much you value your friends, failing to communicate your initial intentions, such as how long you plan to stay, can lead to uncomfortable situations. It wasn't Marie's fault, nor was it mine. It was simply a reminder that safeguarding my time and space is reasonable. Psychologist Brené Brown once said, "Setting boundaries is an act of self-love." It doesn't mean rejecting friends or loved ones. Ensuring that all relationships unfold in a way that respects everyone's comfort and needs. My story isn't a critique of hospitality or enthusiasm. I treasure every moment spent with friends. However, over time, I've learned that everyone has their limits, and protecting those boundaries brings comfort and fosters healthier, more sustainable relationships. If you've ever found yourself in a similar situation, sitting in a friend's living room while longing for the familiarity of your bed, remember that it's okay to say no. Not every visit needs to turn into an extended event. Sometimes, short but meaningful meetups bring greater joy to both parties. So, now you know the 6 reasons why, at the age of 70, I no longer visit friends and family as frequently as I once did. It's not because I don't love or cherish my friends and family. I hold those relationships dear. But over time, I've realized that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to choose to stay at home, a place that offers safety, peace, and a deep sense of completeness. Each story I've shared isn't just a personal experience. They're lessons I believe many people, whether my age or younger, can resonate with. They represent those moments when I understood that saying no to visits isn't selfish, but a way to love and honor myself. Perhaps you felt something similar. After a long, tiring day, an enticing invitation arrives, yet all you want to do is sink into your favorite chair, enjoy a fragrant cup of tea, or lose yourself in a good book. And that's perfectly fine. It's not a sign of detachment, but a powerful affirmation that you've come to understand what truly makes you happy.